Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Bridgeport. Glad you're with us. In the face of alleged government inaction in the wake of the Bridgeport ballot scandal, an election integrity group had their case heard today before the state's highest court.
Now, today, the justices of the state Supreme Court heard oral arguments and will ultimately rule on whether an old law can be used to arrest alleged Bridgeport ballot harvesters Wanda Jeter and Oneida Martinez. Fox 61's Matt Caron is live in Hartford now to bring us inside the historic walls of justice.
Well, Fox 61 was the first station to tell you about the group Fight Voter Fraud Inc.'s efforts to force the arrest of Bridgeport city worker Wanda Jeter and city councilor Oneida Martinez. Their case was rejected by several lower courts, but they appealed and it was granted, getting the chance to argue that case before the state's top 7 judges.
It seems there's an unwillingness to prosecute. What are we waiting for?
Arguing on behalf of Fight Voter Fraud, attorney Cameron Atkinson pleaded his case on why the decades-old Connecticut state statute should be enforced. The law effectively says we, the people, can compel a judge to issue an arrest warrant.
There are legitimate claims of election fraud in this world. And when our officials, particularly in Bridgeport, are more interested in investigating the people who leaked the security footage that depicted these things than holding these people accountable for what they did, there are questions to be asked.
The Honorable Andrew McDonald responded with skepticism, questioning if forcing the arrest of Bridgeport city worker Wanda Jeter and city councilor Oneida Martinez, both accused of election misconduct caught on camera in the recent mayor's race, would actually be counterproductive to ongoing state investigations.
Under your scenario, if these individuals were arrested before that investigation was completed, there could be a result of the charges being dismissed and the chief state's attorney being stymied in his ability to investigate this crime.
Rebutting the argument of Fight Voter Fraud was the state of Connecticut, whose attorneys claimed enforcing that old law would do nothing to ensure free and fair elections.
What they're trying to do here is initiate criminal process, and the outcome of criminal process will only be the arrest and perhaps imprisonment of individuals. It will have no reflection on the outcome of an election.
In response, the justices probed the state on the appropriate mechanism for election accountability.
If I have a right to a clean election or election without this kind of shenanigans, then there has to be some kind of a remedy available to me, or the right is meaningless.
The remedy for that specific concern actually was afforded here insofar as the election was thrown out. There was a new election.
The justices will likely take a few weeks before issuing a written ruling. And Fight Voter Fraud Inc. tells me that if the ruling is not in their favor, they will consider switching their focus from the judicial system to demanding election reform from state lawmakers. Of course, the session wraps up very soon. Reporting in Hartford, outside the state Supreme Court, Matt Caron, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Matt, thank you. In response to today's hearing, a group of people called We the People descended outside the Connecticut State Capitol in Hartford with dozens of people pushing for election integrity. We'll have much more on that part of the story coming up at 6:30.
Well, new tonight at 6, a Department of Labor investigation into the death of a visiting nurse finds the home care agency failed to protect workers against workplace violence. Elara Caring is facing more than $163,000 in penalties after the investigation found the agency did not provide adequate safeguards to protect the nurse, Joyce Grayson, and other employees from the dangers of workplace violence. Grayson was allegedly killed by her patient, Michael Reese. OSHA also determined the agency knowingly exposed employees to patients who exhibited aggressive behavior and were known to pose a risk to others. Now, in a statement, OSHA saying for its employees' well-being, Elara must develop, implement, and maintain required safeguards such as a comprehensive workplace violence prevention program. Workplace safety is not a privilege, it is every worker's right. The company has 15 business days to comply with the penalties, request an informal conference with OSHA's area director, or contest the findings of the investigation.
Time now for a check on the forecast. Not a bad Wednesday. Got a good amount of sun.
Yeah, a fair amount of sun, which is a nice thing. It's supposed to continue getting warmer tomorrow. Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now to talk about that. Rach?
Yeah, we've got early summer vibes in store for tomorrow, although we will get off to a slow start with a lot of clouds out there. We started today off with a lot of clouds, too, before we ended up clearing out. And it's still chilly right now. Chester, Groton with temperatures in the 50s, but it is much warmer away from the shoreline. 73 right now in Windsor Locks. And taking a look at the satellite and radar, some of us are seeing some clouds out there still, and there is a slight chance for a light shower or sprinkle this evening. Most of the state will stay dry and certainly nothing like last night. By the news at 11, temperatures are in the mid-50s, and as we head towards daybreak tomorrow, we'll see overnight lows near 50 as we head into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we'll start the day off gray, lots of clouds, again maybe an isolated sprinkle or light shower, but we'll see clouds break for some sunshine as we head through the midday and afternoon. That will happen first away from the beaches and last at the shoreline, where you might think, oh, will these clouds go already? And then temperatures will take off, rising between 75 to 80 for one day. Not as warm for Friday, and we're timing some showers for the weekend coming up.
All right, Rachel, talk soon. New video sheds light on an officer-involved shooting in Hartford. Officer Devanad Badu was talking to the owner of a car involved in a hit and run on Wethersfield Avenue on Saturday when gunshots came from the house across the street. Police say the suspect, Luis Ortiz, was shooting at a man who was running from the area. Video shows Officer Badu telling that man to get down on the ground. That's before firing gunshots at Ortiz. Now, thankfully, no one was injured, but Ortiz is facing charges for that shooting. New Haven police have an arrest in 2023 homicide, which took the life of 26-year-old Tyrese Blue Jr.
Yeah, the victim's family sharing the pain they've endured since that day with officers and reporters at the New Haven Police Department this afternoon. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc reports.
27-year-old Luis Santiago of New Haven was arrested last week in connection to this case. But Blue Jr.'s mother says while she's thankful for the work of the detectives, this doesn't really feel like justice to her.
My justice is in heaven. I can't get my son back. I can't see him. His baby can't play with him.
Sharon Baines Blue pouring her heart out in front of New Haven police detectives who just arrested the person they say murdered her son last October.
This is my son, Tyrese Blue, 26 years old, football player, wonderful son, never had an issue a day in his life.
Police say on the night of October 14th, 2023, they responded to this intersection near Cedar and Cassia Street for an unresponsive person with a gunshot wound to his chest, later identified as 26-year-old Tyrese Blue Jr. Blue Jr. was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police say he initially went there to meet up with 27-year-old Luis Santiago of New Haven and another person.
Once Blue Jr. arrived, altercation ensued, and Blue Jr. was shot to death by Santiago.
Police not able to say what that meetup was meant for or who that second person was. But last week, with federal partners, they arrested and charged Santiago with felony murder and more, giving this message to Blue Jr.'s family.
Still an ongoing investigation's not over, and these detectives work really hard, and we're going to find justice for all involved.
Justice for a family now raising Blue Jr.'s 7-month-old baby, just 2 weeks old when he was killed.
The person that took that gun and shot my son, God will have his day with him.
And while Baines Blue says this doesn't give her what she truly needs, which is her son, she will never stop fighting in his honor until everyone involved pays the price.
Protect your children, love your children. These streets are disrespectful. They're disrespectful. And at the end of the day, I won't stop.
Now, Santiago is being held on a $3 million bond and is expected to be in court on May 8th. In the meantime, police say more arrests could be coming in this case. We are in New Haven. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Julia, thank you. Well, new tonight, a new video shows the moment an ATV rider crashed into a New Haven police officer's cruiser. Police responding to East Rock Park Sunday for reports of illegal dirt bike and ATV riders grouped up at an entrance to the park that is only open to pedestrian traffic. You can see as the cruiser is slowing down to position itself to protect families on that trail, an ATV driver loses control, hits the front passenger window of the cruiser. The driver was taken to a hospital with serious injuries. City officials reminding residents of the dangers of operating these illegal vehicles on city streets.
Tonight, the UConn and Yale campuses are free of encampments after police at both of these universities forced students out.
Yeah, students at both schools say they plan to be back to continue their pro-Palestinian efforts. Fox 61's Brooke Griffin has the latest.
Well, so far there's no sign of those protesters being back either here at UConn or down at Yale. Now, this all after they were here for about 7 days protesting at the Dove Tower here on UConn's campus. Police came in, told everybody that they must leave or they could be arrested. But now the campus shows no sign of the tents that were set up, although some students say they do plan on being back. Early yesterday morning, UConn police moved into the encampment. They gave final warnings, but some students still would not leave on their own. Police arrested 25 people total, 24 students and one former student, most all of them charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. They were released last night. The university says that they cannot discuss if anybody is going to face any sort of academic consequences as well. Students over at Yale say they were also woken up and told to leave their campus yesterday morning. They stood protesting on the sidewalk nearby, watching their things get taken away. As you can see, throughout the day today, no students over on the green on Yale's campus either. It's very quiet over there too. No arrests were made and there were no physical confrontations with police. One student says it's upsetting to see her university not being supportive of them.
Yale has called in police multiple times. It's a really aggressive, militant approach to peaceful protests, and I think it goes against the stated mission of the school, and it's pretty appalling that Yale's response to us demanding that Yale divest from genocide is to come in and sweep the area, threaten arrest, threaten suspension.
Yale leaders responded to the protests in a statement saying over the past several days, administrators communicated to protesters that their encampment and activities violated the university's policies and were disrupting academic and university operations. The university does not tolerate the violation of its long-standing policies on using on-campus outdoor spaces, postering and chalking, or the use of amplified sound. Now, both those Yale and UConn students have spoken with me multiple times over the past week and a half or so. They say that this is not something they're going to give up on. Just because they're not here right now does not mean that they're not going to come back. They say right now they're resting and regrouping, and if that war decides to continue throughout the summer, they say they will be back in the fall here on their campuses, both Yale and UConn, protesting as well. In stores, Brooke Griffin, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.